Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 140 of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. Today we're going to be talking about the force. We are getting really close. I know I've been telling you guys this every week. We're getting really close to adding interviews back. I'm not sure how I'm going to do them, meaning like how often I'm going to release interviews, how often I'm going to release solo episodes. There is a chance that it could be the time for me to do an interview and a solo episode every single week, plus a Suck Less Saturday. But we're not sure on that yet. We'll have to see if that's interesting to you guys. If you guys are like, dude, I need an interview, a solo episode on some type of thought of jiu-jitsu, and then a simpler, like, fan mail solo episode, Suck Less Saturday. And I don't think all the Suck Less Saturdays are going to be solo. I think I'm going to add some people with me sometimes for those too. But anyway, 3 episodes a week. If that is interesting to you, you guys got to let me know. 3 episodes. Yeah, 3 episodes a week. If that is interesting to you guys, let me know. Send me an email, josh@simplifyingjujitsu.com. I would love to hear from you guys. And I would hate to start releasing 3 episodes a week and get like the same number of total listens, because people are like, well, I just want to hear you once, Josh. It's just too much. Right? I get it. I just want to know from you guys. Yeah, we're going to talk about Star Wars today. You guys will like this one. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. I reference it in the episode, but I would put this idea on par with like blitzing and preventing. I don't think it is as hashed out as blitzing is now. But honestly, when I did the blitzing episode, it wasn't hashed out at all. That was, even though a lot of people's favorite episode, that was very preliminary thought. Now I have a lot more structure on how I think about blitzing, how I think about distance management, how I think about all these different things. But for whatever reason, they start with me telling you guys the preliminary ideas. I think the reason is because if there's ever anything wrong with my thought, somebody sends me an email. If there's ever anything right with the thought, a bunch of people send me an email, and a bunch of people respond and say, this is really helpful for me. I liked this 1 30-second part of the episode. And then I can go, oh, okay, well, that is important. I'm going to make sure to repeat that 30-second part when I teach this as a seminar, like 10 times. Speaking of, Josh McKinney is going on a seminar tour. And what'll be interesting about my seminar tour versus anybody else's is I am more looking at doing training trips, trying to spend a little bit of time in an area, at a school, at whatever. And I'm doing this for a few reasons. One, it's really helpful for me to train as a black belt competitor. I think a lot of people don't take into account how hard it is when you go to compete and you're fighting somebody you're used to training with your purple belts, and then all of a sudden you're fighting a black belt. And I have the luxury of training with black belts, really good black belts, but there's still guys I'm used to. And when I get to go and travel to Kansas City, Chicago, Indianapolis, Nashville, a place that's closer to me, and I get to be there for a while, and I get to train with the toughest guys in that area. And like, not only am I training with the toughest guys, I'm training at their schools. And it's just like this different mental thing. And so for me, I've been doing it more. I've really been focused on it, like getting to travel and train, but that also means traveling and teaching. So if you guys are wanting to bring me in for a seminar, for me, I think most cities that have good jiu-jitsu, once I get brought in for a seminar, I'll probably try to stay for a period of time and train at a bunch of different places and hopefully get some of my team to come with me. So if you guys are interested in that, I guarantee that my pricing for seminars is better than probably anybody else that you would really want to get a seminar from. And the reason I say that is because I know what my pricing is. I ask other people what their pricing is, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who are you trying to fool, right? And so, bring me in for a seminar. What are you guys waiting for? All I want to do is teach them jiu-jitsu. And what these seminars, what's different? Why does that even matter? Why do I care about a Josh McKinney seminar? What's different about it? He's probably just going to show some techniques like everybody else shows. Well, I won't. most likely I will show one or two techniques throughout the entire seminar. I do something totally different that unless you went to maybe like a Chris Payne seminar or something like that, you've probably never experienced before. And it is this, and this is new for me. So you may have even went to a seminar of mine a year ago and it wasn't like this. But instead of focusing on showing you a technique, I focus on showing you guys an idea and getting a really important idea of jiu-jitsu across over the hour and a half, 2 hours that I have, and how it will honestly feel like most of the time that I'm doing these. Of course, I'm going to teach you guys designated winner. I always believe that is important. I think that is one of the best ways to be drilling and really understanding. And then what I start to do is teach you guys about maybe something like skill development. And we look at the skill of footwork. And so instead of showing you guys, hey, here's the technique, do this, I show you guys, this is how you develop this skill. Now do designated winner for the next 3 minutes. And it's this totally new way of teaching and learning jiu-jitsu that I am really excited about. There's also there's a really cool designated winner story. And in this episode, I'll just tell you guys this. It's white belts teaching white belts, which is obnoxious. But it's happening at Head Nod HQ. If you guys want it to be happening at your school, let me know. Send me an email, Josh@simplifyingjiu-jitsu, and request pricing, request whatever. I'm super open to other stuff too. So if it's not about a seminar, if it's like, hey, we want to have you in for a week at our school and run classes, or we want to have whatever, just let me know and we can talk about it. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into this episode. Here it is. Before we get into the episode, hey guys, Josh here, just in case you didn't recognize my voice. But anyway, before we get into the episode, if you guys have not done it yet, give me a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening to this show on. If you're watching on YouTube, give me whatever you're supposed to give me, a like, a comment, a subscribe, whatever you're supposed to do on YouTube. But regardless, give me some type of feedback letting me know how much you guys are enjoying the show and how much you are getting out of this free content. I cannot keep producing free content unless I'm getting 5-star reviews, because that is what is boosting my brand and helping me reach other people just like you and help them suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. So I won't ramble on. Give me that 5-star review whenever you get a chance, whenever you're free. I get it. You're busy. You're listening to the podcast in traffic right now. It would be impossible for you to pull out your phone and then press 2 buttons and take 5 seconds and give me a 5-star review. But that's all I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump right in to the episode. Using the force. So obviously I went full nerd on you guys. I decided today was the day to bring a Star Wars reference into all of the other crazy names that I have for all kinds of different things. But we're going to talk about something that is often, it is talked about on the mats, but I don't think it's talked about in the right way. I think with a little more focus and a little more understanding of what is going on, we could benefit a little bit more. And so that's what we're going to focus on doing today. We're going to focus on figuring out what the force is and how to use it. And so for a lot of us, just to give you guys something to relate it to, I think a lot of people use the term on the mats, action reaction. You hear this term a lot, like, okay, I bat his head down and then he like extends his head up, right? I don't like to think about action reaction because it's not realistic. In all truth, if you come and bat my head, I have spent years perfecting a new response. You know, whether I realize it or not, if I'm on the mat, I am trying to upset what you were trying to do all the time. If you were trying something on me, I am trying to make it not work. And a lot of times, one of the easiest ways to make something not work is just to really show that somebody doesn't understand very well. And I think action reaction is just not the best term. And the reason I don't think it's the best term is because it creates this thing in our mind that all I need to do is push on his shoulder and I'm going to get the response that I want. And it's not always like that. A lot of times I push on his shoulder and he gives me a response. And then I go, oh, he's going to give me that response again. And I push on his shoulder the second time and he doesn't give me that response. And in terms of action reaction, that would mean I had the action, but I didn't get the reaction. And if I don't get the reaction, where is my offense going to come? I'm now in a defensive cycle, most likely. If I'm waiting on this person and all I'm doing is pushing him or batting his head or creating a little bit of an angle from a guard pass or something like that. So when we think about action reaction, I want to, at least for me, I've just been replacing this term in my head, and it is this idea of using the force. And so just give you guys a few examples and then we'll really dig into what the force is. And so a lot of times when we use the force, jiu-jitsu feels effortless. I was trying to think like one of the simplest places to know where to use the force at would probably be like if you've ever hit a trip from the feet, like a foot sweep from the feet, especially, with good control on somebody's upper body, and you start to turn them and you're using that energy that you created. When they go to take a step, you block their foot and you sweep them, right? It is this combination of your momentum, their momentum, because you made them go a certain way, and then your perfect timing. And that is a big thing when it comes to the force versus action reaction, is the force is felt. It is not just do. You cannot think in terms of just do a lot of times in jiu-jitsu. Sometimes when we try to oversimplify and make it a technique that if I grab here, he has no other response. He does. He's going to figure something out. People always do. If you think in those terms, a good way to get out of those terms, start positional sparring the grips that you think are unbeatable. And eventually even your white belts will figure out ways to at least nullify them, or at least make them not work. So when we're thinking, we've got to make sure that we're using our feel on top of our, in quotes, action reaction, how we think they're going to respond, and then where we go from there. And so I think probably a good place to really start with this is just think about force creation and recognition. So we'll look at some places that I think you'll see the force used besides trips. So let's look at simple examples. I think a simple like half guard bridge and roll. If you guys have ever done one of those, usually you lose the underhook on the side you should have the underhook on, but their arm is also trapped. If I try to bridge and roll while all your weight is away from the arm that I have trapped. So I have your right arm trapped and all your weight's to the left in half guard, and you're on top of me and you're smashing me. And I try really, 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 really hard to bridge and roll you to my left, the side that I have trapped, but have none of your weight, none of your momentum, none of your energy. And I try to roll you. All that's going to happen is I'm going to wear myself out. Either that, or I'm going to roll so hard that I'm going to lose connection with you. You're going to take my back. When I try to just make a technique work and I ignore the position that we're in, the weight distribution, ignore all those other things, that is kind of the opposite of using the force. That is what we would call using force. Okay. The force and force are two different things, right? If you guys watch Star Wars, the force is this mystical thing that is always going on. It can only be felt. It can't truly be understood. Force is very easy to understand. Force is us putting physical attributes into our jiu-jitsu. We talk about this when we talk about chaos, right? I can do a bridge and roll with chaos, or I can do a bridge and roll with the force. right? So, how that would feel is maybe I start to really lean, instead of trying to bridge you to my left side, I start to lean really hard to my right side. I make you go, crap, this guy, I need to flatten this guy. Even though I have the underhook, I can't keep him flat. And so all I think about is, don't let him keep me flat. Stay on my right hip, stay on my right hip, stay on my right hip. And then boom, I feel it. When I feel it, what it is probably going to be is you trying too hard to flatten me. You try too hard to flatten me. And guess what? You have the underhook. So you don't have a post on that side. You finally get me flat, and then I bridge and I roll. And it's not only effortless, but I actually get my sweep. That is using the force in jiu-jitsu. Another word we could use is tension. I think this is probably my most recent language that I would use for what we're calling the force. I think about it like I look at Mika Gavali, one of the best tension users. If you ever watch, he responds at really, really, really precise times. And I'm going to highlight a few things that might be done because this idea of, like I said, using the force, it is not totally explainable. It is not totally clear, at least to me yet. Maybe one day it will be. But when we watch Mika Gavali, I'll just highlight a few things that I really notice that he does. One is using the force with perfect timing. I want to say it was when he fought Mateus Gabriel at Worlds. And so it's just recent. And Mika Gavali became the youngest lightweight, or the youngest world champion of all time. And he was fighting the defending world champion in this match. Mateus Gabriel. And so he ends up getting to a position like a body lock on the guy's back, right? You're standing and you have the guy's waist. Probably a lot of different ways to talk about that. If you guys are pro wrestling fans, he's about to hit this guy with a German suplex. And what happens is Mateus Gabriel's really good about protecting the points. And so he's not going to let himself stay down on the ground. And Mika used the force. What happens is Mateus stands up, and as soon as he fights really hard to get up, as soon as the posture is created up, Mika redirects Mateus's energy and puts him back on the floor. He didn't get the sweep though. Mateus gets back up, but as soon as he gets his posture again, Mika hits him with a sweep to the back, knocks him back to his butt, and he begins to get up again. And guess what Mika does a third time? He returns him to the mat a third time. But if you watch this, a lot of times you would watch and say, oh, he just had the right move. But it really wasn't the move. He uses 2 or 3 moves to return Mateus to the mat. What he uses really well is the timing. The timing. Every time Mateus's fight went from fight to stand up, finally I'm up. Oh, I'm swept again. In that transition of finally I'm up, there is this transition of a new fight happening, okay? The person that recognizes the new fight, generally, especially if you're willing to go and you have cardio to go, generally you're going to win. Simply by knowing what the fight is, simply by knowing from half guard, the goal is to flatten this guy. But you know it before I remember that the goal is to keep from being flat. The goal is my underhooks, right? But you're just thinking about flattening me. You do flatten me before I started to think about it. That is like this perfect timing in jiu-jitsu. And you see this so often. A lot of times we call it action reaction, but so often it is you creating that timing for me. It's just me recognizing that you're doing it. There are times that I notice that when I'm in my guard and I'm playing a lot of double sleeve, meaning I have both of your sleeves controlled, I notice people will kind of take some of the wrong steps. And a lot of times when I feel those, I've conditioned my jiu-jitsu so much to automatically respond with like, a super crazy angle creation. So I have double sleeve on you and I feel you take a step back, and everybody does it, right? You take a step back with your back leg so you can stuff my leg in between your legs and start to knee cut me or something like that. It's pretty much everybody's response. But for me in double sleeve, it's not a good response. Or for you, it's not a good response when I have double sleeve. People still do it. People try to take that step back, and all I do is extend my De La Riva hook to be a deep De La Riva hook. Now you've lost your angle. And it's simply because I didn't use my effort. It was not me forcing you to do that at all. I created a situation, you responded, and I understood timing well enough that I could catch you, right? It was effortless. And so here are some of the things that I think when I'm talking about the force. These are the things that, to kind of understand what I mean even more. Here are some simple thoughts on it. One, it is effortless. Okay. If you are properly using the force in jiu-jitsu, there should be no effort. It shouldn't be hard for you. It should not be hard for you. Two, it has perfect timing, right? That's going to be because, when you're doing something effortless, it's because your timing is perfect, generally, but that is important. It can't just be a move. The force is not hidden in a specific technique. It is hidden in your feel for jiu-jitsu and your timing of jiu-jitsu, right? So it should be effortless, should have perfect timing. And then the third thing, and this is when you really get good at using it, you should be able to use it a lot. The best grapplers that you go with are the people that they don't get tired, right? A lot of times you're just getting beat down by this guy over and over and over. And not only are you losing every round and losing every grip fight, losing every position, but you're also using way more energy than this person is. And you're dead tired. You're so beat up, you're exhausted. You don't got any gas left, man. This is a really tough place to be. And it comes from lack of understanding on how to use the force. You are using force, but not his. You're just using your own, right? You're using your own physical attributes. You're using your own energy. And so you can notice like kind of the way I'm speaking of this has some familiarity to the blitzing and the prevent episodes, right? Because the pace that we use force is also important, right? If I can keep using the force for a 5-minute round, a 10-minute round, no one is going to be able to survive that and not be tired. It's just not how it is. If I am redirecting every bit of energy that you give me and your only response is to keep giving me more energy, it is not to go back to prevent, right? I can't use the force on you when you are full prevent on me, right? Your defensive mode, I can't use it. But when you start to attack, or when I can start to create a rhythm where you are so defensive and I know that you're about to attack, those are the times that I can start to set myself up and say, okay, what mistake is this guy going to make? Where is he going to put himself in? And so now let's look at this idea of how to get there. Because for some of you guys, you may have listened to the first few minutes of this episode and say, okay, well, I've never felt anything effortless in jiu-jitsu. I've never felt something perfectly smooth. Why is that? What's going on? And so we'll talk about how you can get there, how you can get to where you're using the force on command. And it's pretty much my ways of getting good at anything. So if you guys know those by heart now, you could probably just turn off this episode. You know how I try to get good at any skill or any concept or idea. And we've talked about this before, but it's always a good way. It's a good time to reiterate it. When we're learning anything in jiu-jitsu, what should happen first, unless we're really good, is we should miss it. We should see it, but we should miss it. And so, for instance, maybe you're starting to try to use the force, and I would say like butterfly guard, close guard, those are good places to start to learn it, because you get to create, like in close guard, you get to create these really strong angles that a lot of times I try to respond to using strength, speed, and athleticism. Maybe less athleticism, but a lot of strength and speed. I try to respond really quickly and hard to these things. And what that will do is create a lot of really strong positions for you to sweep me and off balance me. The more effortless those become, that is what the force is in jiu-jitsu. That is what this idea of this combination of tension and timing is in jiu-jitsu. Hey guys, Josh here. Just want to interrupt really quick and tell you about something really exciting we have going on at simplifyingjujitsu.com. So and when I say we, I mean my father, black belt Steve McKinney, and myself just released our first ever instructional together. It is called How to Learn Jiu-Jitsu. For those of you who don't know, there was a pretty big piece of our training where it was just my dad and I. We were kind of learning Jiu-Jitsu on our own. First, we had to learn how to learn Jiu-Jitsu on our own. And that is what this instructional is about. It is all the different training methods that we've learned, all the ideas, all the conversations, the way we learn to talk to each other to progress at Jiu-Jitsu. There is 3+ hours of bonus content on this already really cool, aesthetically pleasing instructional. And this bonus content is match breakdowns. It's longer rounds between my dad and I. It's us, me teaching my dad designated winner for the first time, totally uncut, just us conversating and doing designated winner as he's trying to master a position from the guard. And so there is so much free content on how to learn jiu-jitsu. This is only available at simplifyingjujitsu.com. The link is going to be in the description. Be sure to check out and get your copy of How to Learn Jiu-Jitsu, only available at simplifyingjujitsu.com. Let's get back to the episode. And so a good way to start would be just from closed guard. You could also start from guard passing, like open guard passing. A lot of times we use a lot of the force in Toreando passings when we get good, going from one side to the other. And it's not because he's not defending the other side and I switch to it. A lot of times it's because when I go to one side, you become very rigid to that side. And it gives me really strong control of your body to simply pull your whole body to the other side of side control. So I start to walk to your left and you go to frame me and I just keep my pant grips that I have. And it's almost like I'm doing a really, really quick pull to my chest and then extend to the other side of my body. And I will have used the force. It will have felt effortless. You would have spun like a top if I use my timing right, and I'll end up in side control. But here's the problem. We do it from close guard. We do it from, where did I just say? We do it from bottom. We do it from top. We do it from anywhere, right? But we start to learn to use the force. And so as I'm learning to use the force, I'm going to miss it a lot. And it's probably just going to be discouraging. Most likely, I'm going to need to wait till black belt to get there. And that is where designated winner comes in. This is, for me, especially lately, it is like the ultimate training ground for jiu-jitsu. And I have noticed more and more that I get better at individual skills when I focus on them in designated winner. If you guys don't know, designated winner, I have a whole episode on it, episode 129. But just a quick recap of it. It's just this way of drilling / flow rolling / positional sparring. It's kind of a combination of all those things. And you can adjust the percentages and the resistance, but it is a designated winner. So if I was playing close guard, trying to learn the force, every round we would start for 3 minutes, every round we would start in my close guard. And maybe I would say, just try to posture this whole time. Don't give me any real other response than that. Just try to posture. And I'm going to keep trying to create a really strong angle so I can sweep you and use the force. Once I finally feel the force once, because it'll take a while, it'll take 10, and you're sweeping however you want. You can scissor sweep, you can flower sweep, you can hit submissions off your back, but you're thinking in terms of, I'm trying to use the force. And as you try to use the force, you're going to notice it once. And when you notice it once, what you'll start to do with this skill is you'll go, okay, let me hit that exact same sequence 2 more times. And you get to feel your way through. Because, like we said, the force is really only something you can feel. Obviously, we can see when it is done perfectly, but there is nothing compared to actually feeling it done perfectly, feeling another person's force use, their force, put them on the mat, right? Get them swept or get them submitted really effortlessly from you, right? That is perfect jujitsu. That is what we should be trying to accomplish. And so now you can even increase the amount of resistance. Okay, give me 40% resistance. So give me some real hand fighting. And stuff. Don't actually get out and pass my guard. Because remember, I'm the designated winner. The big goal of designated winner is to make sure that the designated winner wins every time. And what that does is it takes the stress and the fear off of losing. It makes you go, well, I feel comfortable trying this. I feel comfortable working this offense. Okay, I have a really cool random story for you guys. I don't think I'll use any names. I'll just keep this one really short. So I have been doing designated winner on Mondays for like 4 months now, and really getting good response, really loving it. My students are loving it. But I had a first time thing happen. One of my students, a brand new guy, comes in, and first night there, he's going to learn designated winner, partnered with another white belt, and who's only ever come up in this new version of jiu-jitsu school that we've been running. This new idea on training that we've been running, this brand new white belt has only come up in that. Okay. So really, he's never learned a technique. In the past 2-3 months of training, this guy's never learned a technique, only ideas, only games. And we play them in designated winner. And that is how he's learning jiu-jitsu. And it's an experiment, right? But we had a really good thing happen on the experiment. So he's partnered with the brand new white belt that he invited. One of my blue belts says to me after we all roll live, he said, hey, that brand new white belt, he's going to be tough. And I go, why? Why do you say that? He goes, because it was crazy. He knew how to retain guard without ever doing jiu-jitsu before. And I kind of smiled because I kind of knew what was going to, where this conversation was going. I go, tell me about it. He goes, dude, he was using his feet to pummel for inside control. And then he was getting grips on me. And he's like, what? He goes, what white belt is doing that? And, this blue belt has really good passing. He goes, but what white belt in general is going to do that? This guy was on his first day. He just figured out how to do that. And I go, actually, he didn't. The other white belt taught him the game of guard retention in designated winner during the part of designated winner where you're allowed to work everything. One of my 3-month white belts, he only knows a few games, and they played the game of guard retention for designated winner for 3 minutes. And it was enough work for him, taught from another white belt, that one of my blue belts said, this guy has good guard retention. That's interesting, right? That's a huge thing, right? That is, for me, that's like the biggest thing that's ever happened before, right? White belts teaching white belts. What is next? Women allowed on the mats? This is craziness, right? I was just joking about that. I think I stole that line. I think one time I was on Facebook and somebody was making something about not allowing heel hooks at your gym. And I want to say Jeff Seraphin commented under it. I'm pretty sure it was Jeff Seraphin, who I'm going to get on the show sometime in August. I think I'm going to be in Chicago. We're going to record in person. Hopefully. I haven't asked him yet, but he's cool. He'll let me. But anyway, Jeff comments under this post that was very anti heel hooks. And he's like, yeah, dude, if you're letting heel hooks on your mats, I don't know what's next. Women on the mats, And so it was a really funny, it was funny. I thought I would steal that joke, but I didn't want to pass it off on my own. So now let's look at some thoughts on developing the force, some more thoughts, right? So once we do our designated winner and we start to really notice, even from a specific position, man, in the closed guard, I can use the force. As you get good at that, as you get good at the feel and what it feels like when someone is really resisting and you respond correctly instead of responding with more resistance and more force and more bruteness, right? You respond with whatever, your right technique, your right angle creation, your right idea, whatever, you respond at the right time, though, with the right response, you're going to get better from other positions. You're going to be able to do that more. You're going to find, man, and I know that this sounds crazy because these things don't relate at all, but you will start to say, man, my closed guard getting better is actually helping my passing getting better from open guard. I'm just feeling way more when he's resisting and when I can respond. And that is what I think designated winner does more than anything else. If we're really good at jujitsu, we should only be doing jujitsu at 20% energy. When I go with most people, I'm probably going at 40, 50%. That is like the max. Usually I'm flying at like 30%. And then when I'm like need to, I can jump up to 60 or 70. But most of the time when I am doing jujitsu, it is with the goal of only using the force, being effortless, using perfect timing, whatever, flowing, whatever we want to call it. It is just about smoothness. It is just about effortlessness. And you think in terms of like, why? One, obviously, it feels super cool. If I can beat you up without trying, that's jujitsu working, right? Two, it is jujitsu working. We are getting to really feel the art. And then three, if you think about it, it wastes less of my energy. It beats up my body less. Now I get to train more. And guess what happens when I get to train more? I get better at using the force. I get better at flowing. I get better at all these other things. Really, I know all this episode on the force, this new idea, and all I'm telling you guys is start to use designated winner for it. Start to try designated winner. I promise you guys, this is something that is going to be used, or a version of this. It doesn't have to be called designated winner, but a version of this will be used in pretty much every jiu-jitsu school 10 years from now. Crazy statement, I know, but I'm just seeing the effectiveness. I'm seeing the effectiveness in a school that has always tried to be on the cutting edge, always tried to positional spar with the biggest schools are positional sparring, drill with the biggest schools are drilling, learn with the biggest schools are learning. We've always tried that. And now all of a sudden, we found something new that some schools are doing, but a lot of them aren't yet. And so why are we so committed to it? It's because we, myself, my students, my team, my coaches, we think it works. But then where do you go from there? So now you start to hit things in designated winner. You start to feel that 20%. You're feeling the force at 20%. Can you start to positional spar now? Maybe even with a new partner. Maybe you start to. So the problem with like positional sparring, designated winner of the same position, not that this is a huge problem, but it is your training partner gets really good. Your training partner is engaged the whole time and they're learning and responding and doing all these things. And so sometimes by the time it's time to positional spar, you can't beat your freaking training partner because just through designated winner, they felt where they were losing and they can go, oh, well, I'll just stop all this stuff now. And also another huge pro of designated winner is how well it makes you when you're watching somebody hit offense and you're not trying to defend it. You're just sitting there and saying, what could I have done to defend that? What could I have done? Man, I bet I could have done this. I bet I could have done that. And it allows you as the top person. So as you go to positional sparring, maybe you shift from just one training partner with designated winner and add two more. Maybe there's a group of four of you now, and you positional spar this close guard position. And at first, you're going to have to use a little more muscle. You're going to have to use a little more force. We just went from our opponent resisting at 20 to 40%, now resisting at 100%, right? For us, it's going to be important to give ourselves a break, right? Maybe I'm only going to get out of the 20, 25 reps of close guard on our first day of positional sparring this position. Maybe I'm only able to use the force. I'm only able to be effortless one time. That is what I should be focused on, though, afterwards. I should say, why did that work? What could I do differently? How can I make it even better? How could I use this position more, this idea more? The more we think about jiu-jitsu in these terms, the more effortless it is going to become. The more effortless it becomes, the more we get to train. The more we get to train, the better we get. The better we get, the more effortless jiu-jitsu becomes. Hey guys, Josh McKinney here, just interrupting really quick to tell you guys about something really exciting that we have going on at simplifyingjujitsu.com. And it is my free ebook, The Three Lenses. So there are three ways that you can look at jiu-jitsu to progress at jiu-jitsu, to get better. You can look as an athlete, a scientist, or an artist. What the Three Lenses book does is it shows you how each of the three learn. And you're able to steal ideas that you like from an artist, even though you were a scientist, or steal a routine that you like as an artist that you steal from the athletes. You're able to combine and make your own jiu-jitsu, make your own jiu-jitsu training what you want it to be to accomplish any goal that you want to accomplish. There's also a lot of definition in this ebook. A lot of words that you're going to be able to use on the mats or hear on the mats and actually understand, because we give you that simple definition at the end of the book, where we just look at all the types of training, all the different thoughts, all the different pitfalls that you might fall in as a jiu-jitsu athlete or a jiu-jitsu practitioner or a jiu-jitsu artist, whatever you want to call yourself. But again, this is only at simplifyingjujitsu.com, and it is absolutely free. So be sure to check out The Three Lenses. Let's get back to the episode. Do I have anything important before I let myself just kind of fall off the rails here? I think that those adding positional sparring, and then of course moving into your correct, like into putting it into your jiu-jitsu, moving into finding new ways to get into close guard, finding ways to pull close guard, finding ways to, just create that position more. So then you can keep more time in that position, keep experimenting using the force in effortlessness and flow and whatever we're going to call it. And then eventually you'll just be really good at close guard. Eventually close guard will be effortless for you. And then you start to say, well, where do we go from here? Well, when my close guard is broken, what's the next position that I could create that would be effortless? Right. And now we're building a really not only dangerous close guard, but just a dangerous game of guard in general. Right. And the most important thing is it's effortless. So in theory, I'll be able to play close guard for a whole round or a whole match or a whole fight if I need to. Thinking in these terms of the force and really understanding what it is, really caring to use the force, I think is one of the most important things when you make that transition from being all right at jiu-jitsu to being great at jiu-jitsu. The guys that get great quickest are the guys that start learning to be effortless the fastest. Of course, there are super athletes that never have to be effortless ever. They're able to feel while moving, and even if not, they're physically capable enough to just respond, to just get out, to just beat us on a position. What do we do against those guys? Well, we have to use the force. There's no way around it. If I am going with somebody bigger and stronger than me, especially bigger and stronger that can compete with me in technique, the perfect timing becomes so much more important. Perfect timing is always important, but when you're 230 and ripped and I am 180 and not, it becomes even more important. This is when I cannot miss. This is when, and like a lot of times when I get to fight these guys, to me, it seems like this is a challenge for my jiu-jitsu. And like thinking in those terms of, I want to occasionally get to fight guys who have such physical attributes that most of my jiu-jitsu doesn't work. We have to throw out 80 90% of my jujitsu. I have a training partner that I would say, at least, especially on bottom, less than 10% of my jujitsu works. It's just a matter of keeping tie-ups and making sure I fall into that 10% of jujitsu. That 10% that deals really well with the super athlete, that 10% that really understands, control. And honestly, a lot of times, like, you have to add using the force with your understanding of control, with your understanding of distance, with your understanding of all these other things to be able to beat guys that are just so much more physical than you. But if you can do that, that is one of the most beautiful ways of showing that jiu-jitsu works. Is this guy not only knows jiu-jitsu, but he's also physically he's an 11 out of 10 and I'm a 7 out of 10. How can I overcome those 4 points? How can I overcome 4 points in a game that is really based on physicality? Perfect timing, understanding the force, and then the more you can get them to use force, the better, right? As long as I can absorb it, as long as I can eat it, and that's going to be where we finish, is this thought of, we're talking about using the force, and really the force is generally created by our opponent. Sometimes it's created by our action and we get the right reaction, but usually it's our opponent's momentum, it's our opponent's force. The more force I can get you to create while I can survive, while I can keep you from passing my guard, especially. Like if I can tie you up in a guard that is annoying, a single leg X, a 50-50, a spider guard, something like that, a lasso guard, something that's annoying, and you only understand how to use force to beat it. I'm just going to keep doing that over and over and over until the round has a minute left or 90 seconds left. Because eventually you're going to use too much. Eventually you're going to get tired. If it's a position that I am effortless in, I'm not. If it's a position that I use the force and you use force, I'm going to win. You're going to get tired. And then that's when my perfect timing really matters. That's when all my setup to be able to go into, it may take me 30 seconds on most people. So I might go, okay, I'm going to give myself 90 seconds. And then I'll get to my strongest sweeping position where I can control 2 or 3 posts even, make sure that you cannot balance and then sweep. And I also know, hey, I'm not going to win the physical battle here. So I'm going to keep these grips for a while. I'm going to let you use force. And then as soon as you fight too hard, then I'm going to let go and just hug you. And I'm just going to stay on top. All I have to do is stay on top for 30 more seconds. You can't, you've wasted too much energy to stop me from doing that. You'll even find, and I have matches like this where I was obviously getting beat down. And, like the tide started to change with like 2 minutes left. And I know like, okay, there's 2 minutes left. It doesn't have to be go for submission. A lot of times it has to be just keep winning the battle of energy. I'm tired, but he's more tired. He's super tired, or we're maybe the same. So if I can just keep winning the energy battle, if I can just keep taking 10 out of your gas tank and only taking 5 out of mine, eventually you're going to be dead. Andrew Luck says you can't go broke making a profit. And when we're thinking in these terms, jiu-jitsu is going to be easier. We're going to beat guys we never would be able to beat. And yeah, that's the thing. That's what the force, eventually I'll do another episode on the force. Obviously these are like preliminary thoughts. They weren't super structured. It's just been something I've been watching for a lot in jiu-jitsu. I'll give you guys a few people that use it really well. I told you guys Mika, if you watch his action reaction is just unbelievable. I feel like Hanato Canuto does it well, but he does it a little differently. His version of using the force adds a little of his athleticism. And so on top of beating you effortlessly, he then adds a bit of athleticism to it. And so maybe it's not the best for most of us that aren't athletic, but it's still just an interesting way to use that action reaction. Man, there are so many people that use this well in jiu-jitsu, but you'll find this idea, this thing any black belt that hits offense in black belt competition is probably using it to some extent. You know, if you're sweeping a black belt, if you're submitting another black belt, usually you did something really right to do that. They didn't fall into it, right? And so this is something that you should be able to find in almost all black belt competition. And you'll see it in different positions. You'll see it when guys go from crab ride and they start to like really stack the person with their shins, and then they get the right response, and then they roll through and take the back, and it looks super smooth. Or Barambolos, very similar. They create these like balls of tension, and then they release them in the perfect spot. And so, yeah, look for it in jiu-jitsu. Look for it on the mats tonight at your gym. See if you know, because there are probably some people that you thought of while we were talking about this episode, talking about just like these guys that just effortlessly do jiu-jitsu, but still score. There are people that effortlessly do jiu-jitsu, but don't ever get to do offense. But then there are the people that effortlessly do it and beat you up. That is, in my opinion, true use of the force. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and that's all I have for you guys. We'll kick to the outro, and may the force be with you guys. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry I made that joke. I apologize, guys. And that is the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I've been thinking about the force thing for a while, using the force. I like that I've used the term for only like 4 weeks now, maybe a month now. But I've been using the term tension, as I said, and I like that, but it's not always tension. Sometimes it's momentum, right? Sometimes momentum that we're using. And so it's not always, I can't use tension. That's why I like using the force. You creating your own language about it makes it easier to understand, because now anytime I reference something on the podcast about using the force, basically you guys, instead of me spending 45 minutes explaining what that is, you guys have already heard it for 45 minutes, and it's now just relegated to a single term. And so when I talk about using it, I save us all 45 minutes, and you just understand the term, right? It's kind of the importance of using specific language. That's why I do it on the show. And honestly, because I do it on the show, most of the language I use on the show is what I use in my school too, or vice versa. And so, yeah, you guys get to talk like us at the school. And so that's fun. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys. If you guys are interested in having me in for a seminar, a camp, a private lesson, an online private lesson, whatever, I am starting to do more of these things and just really expand my horizons with them. So it doesn't have to be anything specific. It can just kind of be an experiment of something of like, hey, we thought it would be cool to have you out to try this. I would probably be pretty open-minded for it, probably be excited about it. And so that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And I hope that this episode, I hope you guys don't stop listening because I made that "May the Force be with you" joke. I apologize for that. That was bad. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, hope you guys don't quit listening to the show because of that. And I hope that today's episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys. Hey guys, Josh here again. I noticed that the podcast is over, but you are still listening. So you might still be in search of some really good free content that the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show provides. So if that is the case, if you guys are looking for some solo episodes where you can learn more about efficiency and effectiveness in Jiu-Jitsu, I would highly recommend 2 episodes. The first is episode 111, and that is on blitzing. It's this idea of pacing that most people, even black belts, don't think about. And then episode 129 is on designated winner. It is this new training concept that we have been doing at my team. We've been talking about a lot on the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. I've actually been traveling the country and teaching this training method. And so as we continue to grow the show, I think that is going to be the episode that I push most people to. It's episode 129, designated winner, learning to master the flow. This is kind of the missing piece between drilling and flowing and positional sparring. You kind of get to combine all three of those things with Designated Winner and get the effects of all three of those things with Designated Winner. Also, if you guys are interested, if you're looking for some more deep dives into specific things in Jiu-Jitsu, you can always go to simplifyingjujitsu.com, where I have all of my instructionals, all of my dad's instructionals, and actually a few from my coach Kyle Watson, my friend Nick Sanders, John Prine, really some amazing black belts instructing you at simplifyingjujitsu.com. Also at simplifyingjujitsu.com, I have a free ebook for you guys. It is called The Three Lenses. It is the three lenses that people look through to learn jiu-jitsu. Most of us only ever see or learn from one of the lenses, and simply by adding the extra perspective of the other two, you will triple how quickly you get good at jiu-jitsu, especially how well you understand jiu-jitsu. And that is what this free ebook really provides, is a very good way for you to understand the language, understand what's happening, understanding why you are getting better, or more importantly, why you're not getting better. And you can use this free ebook and it will help you diagram what you want to getting to the goals you want to get to. And so that is all I have for you guys. Make sure to check out Designated Winner. Make sure to check out everything that I have at simplifyingjujitsu.com, whether it is free or it is paid. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Josh McKinney. If you ever have any questions or comments, or you want to send a suggestion for a Suck Less Saturday episode, you can email me, Josh at simplifyingjujitsu.com. I read all those emails. Sometimes they get repetitive, so I combine 5 or 6 emails to be a Suck Less Saturday episode. But keep those emails coming so I can keep producing great jiu-jitsu content, and I can keep hearing from the people who actually enjoy the show and want to keep hearing the jiu-jitsu content that I produce. Have a great day, guys. I hope this last little few minute clip helps you suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day.
Money.